What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Market Makers podcast here. I'm here with my partner, Ian Walsh.
Hey
What's up,
guys, how's it
Ian?
going? Good. I'm good. Yourself?
Doing great, doing great. It's a
Nice.
beautiful day out there, raining a little bit here in central PA, but other than that, pretty good. Today's guest is Tonya Keener. Tonya, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing today?
I am great. Thanks for having me, guys.
So we were talking a little bit before the show started, and you started telling me little bit about your background. Holy moly! It's we talked a little bit about how people come from all kinds of different backgrounds getting into real estate. I'd love you to tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing, and kind of go from there.
Sure. Well, I'm always an open book and transparent. I'm originally from Tennessee. My background and upbringing was like a lot of people's. It was not great. We had a lot of different things that happened. So anyhow, I had to overcome a lot, but I did. Um, and then I got into truck driving, and about 3 years into that, I just felt really led in my spirit to do real estate, because ultimately I want to be in ministry, and I just felt like God was pressing it on me that me and my husband would build a business together, and that would be a training ground for later of what I want to get done. So here we are. We are in our third year. I feel like we are being successful, but we're still learning and growing because the market definitely, there's a lot to learn in the market. So that's where I'm at.
That's awesome.
What are the biggest takeaways in these first 3 years for you?
Okay, so the first year was rough, right? Because I made tons of mistakes. I was lucky to have a good mentor. I'm not even going to lie. I got yelled at by all kind of other realtors and transactions because of just issues. So it was a learning curve for me for sure, because I'm not somebody that would consider myself like technically book smart or whatever. So I had to learn a lot. I had to adjust. So the first year was just ebbs and flows of learning. The second year, I really started to um, get a vision of what I wanted to do, how I wanted to grow, started implementing that. And now in the third year, we're focused on that. I mean, obviously, we're still learning, but we are focused. We have a clear path of what we're doing. And so that is having results.
Well, okay, so the 3 year cycle a lot of times is what you see in business, right?
Yeah.
I kind of joke around with my wife about this. Like anytime I'm doing something new, it takes me 3 tries, right? The first try is okay, but you miss the mark a lot. And then the
Yeah.
second try, you're almost there, and you got to make some small tweaks in the third round. So tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that you said you had people yelling at you when you got started. What did you learn that you didn't know, that you didn't even know that you didn't know?
Oh, I mean, a lot of it was just paperwork stuff, right? So, and I think I would just be so excited and rush through some stuff. So I really had to like calm down and focus on that part, because real estate's multifaceted. There's lots of parts to it. Yeah, you could be a people person. You can get in front of people. I don't have a problem with that. I can, talk to people easily and all that. But on the other side, then I had to really get basically the paperwork down was what I was struggling with.
Okay.
I've done it though, just so everybody knows. I don't really, every once in a while there I'll get a error or something, but that's also another part, is having an important team, and not just your brokerage, but I like the lenders I work with. I'm very intentional about who I work with. I always meet everybody ahead of, like, we have to sit down and talk, because I have to know that I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me, and I want to know what you're about and I want you to know what I'm about. So there's, expectations there of how we're going to work together. So and then I pick my team very carefully, and I have a good team, good title people. I'm still expanding though. It's good to network, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what specifically is your business model? Like, what's your core business model that you guys focus on?
Okay, so I have shifted, and way before the NAR settlement, right? I had shifted and felt like I needed to focus on listings. Um, and that's kind of like where I've worked. I still work with buyers. I'm not going to turn anybody away. But my main focus that I spend a lot of time in is trying to get listings, and not just any listings. Like, I want big listings, right? My broker said, I called a property and I got a $3.5 million listing, right? My second year. And he was like, I can't believe you had the balls to call. I'm like, well, why not? Like, if I want to be successful, I don't want to just, yeah, I want to go after big people as well, right? All those listings. So um, that's kind of what I've been focused on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always tell people, like, especially with technology nowadays, like people in general are just so much more accessible. It's like, why not make the call? Why not ask the person? What like
Exactly.
it's like, I think once upon a time before technology, certain kinds of people, whether it was like a movie star or something, or a famous person, or somebody who just has like a lot of money or a big listing or something, feels like this. Oh, I can't call them. They're above me in some way. It's like the gap that's been bridged due to technology just makes, like, I don't know, I'll just shoot him a DM, or I'll just shoot him a message on Facebook. Like, bang, now you're talking to Kim Kardashian or whatever. It's like, oh, you're just another person, right? Like,
Yeah.
or you're getting that huge listing on the waterfront. I think as people, like, you've obviously cleared that gap in your own mind where you're just like, I don't care. I'm just going to call you. Like, what's the word?
Yeah.
You're just a person. I'm just going to ask, and we're going to see where we go from here. Right. So that mentality, I think, goes a long way. You probably found that pretty helpful for yourself. I
Yeah.
would assume. Yeah.
It's crazy because I talk to other realtors that have been in the business way longer than me, and they always want to know how am I getting my listings, right? Because that 3.5 is not the only. We have a 1.8. We have a 900. We have some other big listings, and we're still growing. And I'm just shocked that when I hear people that have been in the business 10 years, they don't cold call anymore, and they've never called that $3.5 million listing or above. I don't know why. Maybe it's a stigma, like you said, in your head. They don't think that they're going to get it. But yeah, pick up the phone and call. I spend a lot of time on the phone.
Just try, right? Just try. What's it going to do? What's the worst thing you're going to say? No?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so is that where most of your listings are coming from, or is that where most of your leads come from? Is from getting on the phone and making phone calls?
Absolutely. Because when I came in, I didn't have a base, right? I didn't have a huge spear. This was from like ground up I had to get on the phone. I had to work hard right from the door, which I was not opposed to. I worked long hours and pretty much a lot of different jobs I had, especially truck driving. So that was always my mentality. Like, I'm going to get out of the business what I put in. I'm going to work, um, and I'm going to trust God with it. And that's what I've done. And it's been good. It's a successful model. Like, these people want to hear from you. Expired listings. I spend a lot of time working expired listings. I have a background too in collections, and I was a great skip tracer. So it's nothing for me to use sites to find, an address and get the number and then call them up.
That's great. Do you have do you create, I mean, this might be a little too deep in the hole here, but do you hire people to create lists for you, or is this something that that you do on your own? You just have an idea of, okay, these are the people that I'm going to be contacting because of the location, or do they show some type of signs that they may be interested in selling their property?
No, so right, it's all expired listings for me right off the MLS, which is free. And when I first started, me and my husband, we did put a lot of money into different sites and lead generation, and those are buyers, right? And that's how, like, in the second year, I was like, okay, I'm not going to continue to do that. I want to focus on listings, and here's a way I can get listings for free as long as I work. So
Sure.
yeah, I work a whole wide range of areas because I don't mind traveling to Chesapeake City. I used to live in Cecil County, Maryland. So I'll make that hour and a half trip right down there to meet with that waterfront client, because why not? I was just down in Conowingo this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning for pictures for a client. So don't mind.
Yeah, I like how you kind of like you've taken it and you're just like, look, it's not that hard, just work, right?
Yeah.
And it's like when people go, oh, yeah, I can do that, and then they do it for 2 days, and then they're like, oh, this is too hard, I'm not doing
Yeah.
this anymore. The difference with you is you just keep doing it, right? Like, I always tell people, like, a superpower for people is consistency. Like, consistent action it just wins. Like, if you just keep showing up, you're eventually going to get to the finish line, right? It just works that way.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like rejection and they're afraid of it. I'm not. I'll take the cuss me out. I'll take the hang up, the nose, whatever. I'm going to get to the yes. Right.
It's not personal, right? It's just
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I've never really been rejections never really bothered me. I'm just like, man, it's not a fit. It's fine. I don't care. And if you're mad and you want to yell, that was something that you got going on today. Nothing to do with me. It's fine.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, that's good. That's a great it's a great model. I mean, it's like it's kind of old school. It works. Expired listings as a lead source has been since the day I've been in the business in 2008 has always been something on that people talk about utilizing and never really gets tapped out, especially in this, in these kind of markets where you have huge supply and inventory issues lopsided on one side or the other. So like, you might not be able to tap into as many expired listings in maybe a suburb, but like, your higher end homes might be a
Yeah.
better fit. Do you find them moving right now? Do you find like, are you getting offers on what you list?
So the 3.5 is obviously pending. It's been pending and we're set to close next month. So yes, for cash buyers, and that's another thing I had shifted from with the not with the settlement coming up. I don't really pay attention, honestly, to what the market's doing and the rates and all that. I just focus on what I'm doing. And I like cash buyers, investors. There's so many when people get nervous about the market and all that, like expand then work with investors, go after people in the higher end listings because you have cash buyers and they're not affected either by the rates. So yes, we've already had showings on the other properties. So I expect them to move. Maybe not. It might take 6 months, right? They don't
Mhm.
go quick off the mark, but they move. Yeah, people are buying.
Are you listing them lower than they were prior listed for, the same price, higher? Where do you tend to list compared to where they were?
Well, I mean, I do comps and stuff, but I really listen to the seller. Like, if they feel strongly about what they think their home is valued at, even if I tell them, like, hey, um, I go with that. I go with the seller. I trust what the seller wants. I put the best foot out there. I tell them, like, hey, we'll put our best foot forward and let's go for it.
Sure.
It's got to be a challenge too, because you're coming in as the expert, especially on an expired listing, right? You're coming in where someone else has not been able to sell their property. And I think, I mean, Ian and I come from an investor standpoint, right? We invested or we got our feet wet wholesaling properties. So we're walking into a house trying to negotiate the lowest price. And it's a totally opposite end of the spectrum when you're dealing with the
Right.
seller who they're looking for the highest price. And and
Yeah.
I've found that, I used to make this joke about, you'd have three different agents, and the first agent would just list it for whatever price they could get the thing under contract for. The second one would be convinced, and then the third one would list it for the right price and it would sell. Do you find a challenge there, or do you think that the higher priced houses, do you find a challenge coming to an understanding with the seller that you know sometimes they want $2 million for their house, but if the market says it's worth 1.8 or 1.5, like that's what the house is going to sell for? Or do you think that a lot of these higher priced homes, there's just a lot more flexibility because it ends up being more of a cash deal?
Yeah, I've seen tons and tons of listings that sold for way under what they're listed for, right? Because
Sure.
because I'm on the MLS so much, I see that a lot. And I think, any seller wants top end for their home.
Sure.
But there's always room to negotiate, right? So unless they're just 100% adamant that that's the price, they're not going to budge, and then that is what it is. But for the most part, they're reasonable, they understand, they want to sell, and that motivation usually trumps.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. So what do you foresee in the next couple months? I mean, what do you impact do you foresee for this NAR settlement, at least in your business?
Yeah, so that is tough because I worry about the buyer's representation. I worry that they're just going to go to the listing agents and listing agents can look out for buyers as well. Like, hey, but I don't know if all of them will. I don't know if the buyers are going to get the same kind of protections and treatment as they would with a agent,
Hmm.
representing them specifically. So I think that's a concern. If you're only focused on working with buyers, I think you might struggle.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Do you think that on the upper end, like I kind of, my initial inclination for this type of, when this NAR settlement first came out, my initial inclination was, hey, I think what we're going to really see here is not really much of an impact on the higher end, not much really in the median home price where people are maybe moving up into that $400,000 or $500,000 house. But when you're down on on the sub 150 sales price, what you're going to end up with are people that they can't afford to pay the commission to the agent, right? And as a result, they're going to enter into these agreements or enter into these transactions looking for a house without really getting the representation that they need. And also, this tends to be the segment of the population that has the least amount of experience, knowledge, education on how a transaction works. So, I think that with this settlement, the original intent for the lawsuit and all this and that was to protect consumers. And what we have here again, is a situation where the government gets involved and it gets a little bit more
Yeah.
gummed up, and the people that were meant to be protected aren't really being protected, I don't think.
Yeah, no, totally. And it is a concern also that we already having trouble with buyers in lower end
Mhm.
with these pre-approvals because they're already not educated, and then they tend, what I'm seeing with my buyers in that lower range of 150, 200, they just seem to want a house that is out of their budget, or they want, like, you got a $150 budget and you want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath detached home, and it's like you try to get them to shift, like, well, okay, if it's your first home, let's be reasonable, and they also need sellers help. So but not only are buyers going to lose out, sellers are going to lose out too, because you're going to lose out on buyers that can't afford to pay the 3% or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an opportunity for investors to step into that gap, maybe.
Oh yeah, investors. I mean, I'm telling you, you guys are always busy, right? I work with investors down in Baltimore a lot, and you guys, I don't think y'all are going to be hit at all with that.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. So, if somebody wants to reach out to you and work with you here, how do they get in touch with you? And what's the best way to get Tonya on the phone, or get in front of you?
Oh yeah, so call me on my cell phone. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I wouldn't give out my cell phone number to clients," but I'm available. I don't have the luxury yet of not taking phone calls for clients and picking and choosing when I know some agents do, but when you're new and you're hungry and you're growing, like, you need to be on the phone and you need to be present. One thing I don't like that I've seen is, like, we're disposable, right? If you're not available or the lender's not available, people just don't value you, like, relationship wise. It's all transactional, so they'll move on quick, right? Where's the loyalty? So I do like to talk to my people. I like to try to form some kind of connection and relationship because I think that's important, and we need to get back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, so
And you
call
have any
me.
other? Well, and like that personal touch, everything has become so automated,
Yeah,
and like you said, transactional, but also it's become kind of sterilized. That human touch. A lot of times, it's the difference between getting a deal done and having the thing fizzle out and die, right?
right.
Awesome, awesome, Tonya. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Sure.
And Ian, you have any questions here? That anything to
No,
cover?
good to go. Good to go. Appreciate having you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, guys. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's really our pleasure. If if you're out there watching and you need a hard money loan, reach out to Hard Money Bankers. You can go to hardmoneybankers.com or give Ian or I a call. If you're looking to list or list and sell your property, or you're looking to buy, give Tonya Keener a ring. Her contact information is streaming along the bottom here of the of the podcast. All right,
Perfect.
great, good stuff. Tonya,
All right,
thanks so
guys.
much. We appreciate it, and we'll see you again soon.
I hope
Take
so.
care.
Take
All
care.
right,
Alrighty.
guys.
Yep.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye.